What do you do if you don't feel appreciated by a company who you've been loyal to for years? That's exactly the situation this next caller is dealing with, and I walk him through a technique to address the situation. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel to hear me coach more live callers just like this one. Alfred, welcome to the show. How can I help you today?
Thanks, Dr. Pollack. I had an issue at my job that ultimately led me to leave my job, but it's something I've been thinking about ever since I did that. So I had a situation. I worked at a place for about 20 years, and they rotated our assignments about every year or 2 years. I was an attorney and I had gotten pretty experienced. And so I handled a lot of the most complex cases that came into our office. And so it came around the time where they were rotating assignments. And my supervisor said, I have a choice for you. We have two assignments that are available. One is a very difficult trial assignment where you're going to get the most cases with the worst facts and the biggest consequences, and it's going to require a lot of extra hours and things. And I had done this assignment before successfully, but I realized it entailed a lot of work. Or we have the second option where we're going to have you work at this outlying court that's you would be not in your own office. You'd have a small office in this satellite workplace, and you would work under this one supervisor. So this one supervisor who is really close friends with the very top boss person in my workplace was apparently hard to work with, to the point where the last four people that were assigned to that particular assignment ended up just quitting the office. So I said, I'll let you know tomorrow what I'm going to do. And the next day I called and I said, I'll take that trial assignment. And I was told, oh, that assignment isn't available. Ultimately, I ended up retiring from the
Oh,
law as sort of my coping mechanism at that point. And luckily, I had a pension, but I can't tell you how much anxiety and just even after the fact, just stewing about that situation that took place.
are you construing it as they really only had one option, but they wanted to make it seem like they had both options, thinking that you would take that second option?
Yeah, I feel a little bit they were maybe pulling like a Tom Sawyer move or something. Like there's this really easy assignment, or there's this super hard assignment. So you can pick the one that you want.
They were a little bit manipulative in trying to hopefully directing you towards the one that they wanted. They were trying to give you some false sense of agency or choice. And it ends up they wanted you to do this one because they wanted you to work for this individual who no one else wanted to work for. Is that what it sounded like?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And I don't have proof that something happened, but I don't think there was the other assignment. I don't think it was available. And if it had changed within the few hours before I gave a decision, at the very least, I should have been given some information that time was of the essence at the very least. But yeah, I felt like it was deceitful.
They didn't come to you in good faith and they didn't or they didn't communicate very well with you. So you're retired now. So currently do you feel like the conflict is, simply internal with yourself and you're kind of feeling anxious about when you think about it? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, it tainted like the whole 20 years for me.
Mm.
Like I
Hmm.
gave so much. I did so much extra work. This was a salaried position. So, of course, you can go home anytime you want. Here's 20 hours worth of work for today. You figure it out.
All the work you've done for all these years, you've gone above and beyond, and this is how they treat you at the end. That's kind of how it's
Exactly.
sitting with you. Yeah.
Yes.
And during the years, did you feel any sense of reward or appreciation or recognition?
Not a lot from the office. I
Yeah.
felt, the reward of doing a good job, the reward of getting a verdict that I wanted, or working out a negotiation that I wanted. And I thought because it was a government position that there would be equity, but it turned out like any other job, people's friends that got
Yeah.
supervisor positions,
Yeah.
people that had worked really hard were rewarded with more work.
Can we do a little experiment, a little thought exercise?
Yeah, I would love that.
If you were sitting in a room with your supervisor and this supervisor became the perfect supervisor, the most appreciative supervisor, the kind of supervisor that you would really want. I want you to play that role of the perfect supervisor and say to yourself, say exactly all the stuff that you would really love to hear from your supervisor, as if you're talking to yourself.
Okay. And is this regarding this whole assignment change or just what I would have liked throughout the 20 years?
I think we've gotten to 20 years, you're retiring. Alfred, let me tell you how I feel about you now that you're leaving us. Be that person and talk to Alfred.
Alfred, whether it was some of the assignments that had just tons and tons of clients where you had to spread yourself thin that way, or whether it was these assignments with just a few really complex cases with extremely high consequences, you always managed to take those cases or those assignments, handle them in a way where clients were happy. The court staff always appreciated you. We never got a call from a judge or an opposing counsel or any court staff about any problems with you. And so we came to rely on you and admittedly loaded you up with more than your fair share of cases and of just grind assignments. And, maybe it was bad management on our part to not acknowledge it, but frankly, we needed your manpower and we just came to rely on you and maybe admittedly we took you for granted. But if you leave, it's going to be hard to replace you with one person for sure. And while we appreciate the legacy that you left and your role model here of getting this job done, I just wish that through the years we had acknowledged you more because you've just done so much for this law office and more importantly for each one of those clients you represented. So thank you. We see you.
Awesome. How do you feel hearing that from that supervisor?
I have a hard time visualizing that supervisor saying that. I very much appreciate this exercise. And the reason is because I think I get the point of it, which is I don't need to hear it from them.
Yeah.
I heard it from me.
And that is if someone were to align themselves with the truth, Alfred, that's what they would say to you. And people, unfortunately, don't have the communication skills. They don't have the self-awareness. They don't have the ability to do that. But if you had someone who could align themselves with the truth, that's what they would say. And so my suggestion to you would be when you start feeling, hey, like after so much time and energy I put in, and that's how I was treated, I would do that for yourself. I would remind yourself of the truth and how if it were a perfect supervisor and they were aligned with the truth, that's what they would say to you. And just tell yourself that again. You could even write it down like you're writing a letter to yourself because that is the truth and that's what's important here. It would have been nice, but it's not as important that some individual had enough self-awareness to say that. What's really important is that is the truth and that's what we need to focus on. Does that sound like a good plan?
It does. And now that I think about it, this is stronger because if he had said that, I'm not sure I would have believed it all coming from him, or it would have felt forced or like he was, doing something from some management training that they were told to do.
Right.
But you're right. When I say it, I know it's true.
There's a greater truth here than what someone else perceives or can communicate. There is a greater truth, and that is the knowledge that you have about, how you did perform and what you did put into it.
Exactly. So, yeah. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Well, happy to help. I would just suggest like anytime you start feeling a little, anxious or just upset about how things went, do this exercise or do something like it. And just remember what the truth is.
Yeah, I will. I'll do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Alfred. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for tuning into the Peacebuilding with Dr. Pollack show. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more workplace conflict advice. Share on social media if you think your friends and colleagues would benefit from this episode. And if you have a workplace conflict and want to be a caller on our show for free coaching and advice, please email podcast@pollackpeacebuilding.com. Thanks.